Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me once again on this Monday evening for Heart and Soul Conversations. I am Corey J, aka Coach K, your happiness coach, and I help people find their happiness again after experiencing toxic relationships. This week, once again, we're going to continue what we started talking about last week, turning pain into power. Have you ever asked yourself at any time in your life, I just want to be happy. How can I be happy in this situation? Or I've been through so much. Is it possible for me to be happy again? And a lot of times, I know I've asked myself that question, but we find ourselves asking that question after we've experienced something in our lives, and we just find ourselves either tapped out, drained, nothing left to give. I mean, we have given all that we can give to a specific situation or to a relationship or to a job, and we just feel completely depleted. Not that things around us are going bad or not that we find ourselves completely miserable, but there's just something missing. We're not completely happy. If you find yourself asking that question or making that statement to yourself, then tonight really is the podcast for you, because what I'm going to discuss with you is definitely going to give you the absolute tool that you need to really begin to find happiness again, or even to realize that you're beginning to be happy for the very first time. A lot of times when we're coming out of toxic situations or just things that don't serve our highest good or haven't really made us very happy in life, we tend to put the blame on that situation or that person or that thing, that place. Our bosses are mean, so we're miserable. Our friends are not, as giving as we are, so we aren't as happy in the friendship. The relationship isn't good because you're always the one giving, 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 giving. It's a one-sided, unrequited love type of relationship. And we focus on what the other person or the other party is doing more than looking at ourselves per se. And you may not be to blame for anything. But we keep ourselves miserable in situations like that when we fail to recognize one thing. And this one thing, I tell you, absolutely set me free when it came to how I saw my happiness and how I wanted to develop my happiness and what I needed to do to really find true happiness. And my father shared this with me, and it stuck with me. Shared with me years ago as we were reconnecting in our relationship. And I was complaining about what I was going through before. And the one thing he said to me was, well, baby girl, he doesn't owe you anything. And then when I tell you that was the hardest pill for me to swallow, I was like, what do you mean? Yes, he does. He owes me an apology. He did this and he did that. And even talking about, oh, she did this and she did that. Of course, they owe me something. They took everything from me. I gave them everything. Hello, last statement. I gave them. And when you give somebody something, they're going to take what you give, right? But the issue is that we expect them to give us the same thing in return. That's normal human nature. We're giving somebody something, we want them to reciprocate whatever it is that we're giving. And thank you guys for tuning in. For those of you who are catching me for the first time or via the replay, again, I'm Corey J, aka Coach K, your happiness coach, and I help people start their lives over, find happiness again after toxic relationships. So please put a comment down below for those of you who are listening in tonight so that I can acknowledge you as you are in. Put hashtag heart and soul tribe, so that I know that you're here with me. But that one statement again that I said out loud was, I gave. And when we are feeling unhappy or feeling pain in a relationship, is mostly because we are giving way too much, or we're giving and expecting too much from the other person. They may be giving all they can actually give, but because we are givers more than them, or we give more than the other person, we're expecting them to give on our level. We're expecting them to give us what we give them the same way they give it to us. And we find ourselves hurting, empty, pouring from an empty cup, really, because of course, when you're the one who's over giving and you're doing the most, you're not being poured back into. And that leaves you feeling depleted, and it leaves you feeling unhappy, and it leaves you feeling like you need to blame the other person for your unhappiness. When the reality of it is, guys, you chose to give to them whatever they're receiving and whatever you're lacking. It's because you chose to give it. And there's nothing wrong with giving love. There's nothing wrong with giving friendship. There's nothing wrong with giving the commitment that you feel the situation deserves. But when it doesn't work out and when it doesn't come together the way that we think it should, and we find ourselves in a place where we are either leaving the relationship or leaving the friendship behind or leaving the job behind, and we find ourselves completely bitter, and we want an apology from those people because it feels bad, it hurts. You take. How many of you have said that in a relationship? All you do is take from me, and I give you everything you ask for. I do everything you want me to do, and you give me nothing in return. God knows I've said it. Friendships, family relationships, love relationships, my kids. How many of you have said that even to your children? Because sometimes we overdo it with our children because of certain situations. Either their father's not around and we feel like, or whatever, one parent's not around and we feel like we have to overcompensate. You want this relationship to work out better than the rest, so then you feel like you have to overdo it instead of just allowing things to unfold or take its course, right? So because they hurt us in some sort of way, or you may have even been abused or cheated on or whatever, and because that hurt came to you from that person, you feel that they owe you an apology. The major first step, not first step, I'd say second, because I went over the first step last week, right? So, but one of the main things and the main keys that you can take away from tonight's podcast is they owe you nothing. Absolutely nothing. They owe you nothing. It might not seem that way because you've given them so much and they've taken everything that you've given them, and they, whatever it is that you feel that they owe you. But the reality of it is they owe you nothing, not even an apology. Let that one thing be the very stepping stone you need to be on your journey to happiness and to personal and self-fulfillment and to self-love. Because at the end of the day, they don't owe us a thing. Our parents who don't do right by us, and because we wind up taking care of them, or we wind up doing things, and we wind up losing our childhood because we got to raise our siblings, because our parents aren't doing what they're supposed to do as parents and parenting, as we get older, we feel like, well, they owe us this. They owe us that. I deserve this. I deserve that. We become very entitled because we're hurting. How many of you if you've ever found yourself in that position or situation, whether you're live or watching the replay, go ahead and put a heart emoji down in the comments. If you've ever found yourself saying, they owe me this. The least they could do is this. The least they could do was give me back what I gave. The least he can do is because I am doing. I deserve A, B, C, and D. And granted, we all deserve the best. We all deserve the best that love and life have to offer. We deserve to be happy the way that our hearts desire. But the one thing we don't have the right to do is demand something from another person who's not willing to give you even what you felt you deserved. So why do we seek an apology from people who hurt us in the first place? We are not entitled to that. We are entitled, however, to self-love, to being happy, and to we decide the life that we want to live. We decide the destiny that lies ahead for us. We are entitled to that. We are entitled to the law of attraction. We say what we want and we get it back as long as we are doing the work. Blaming the other person and expecting them to pour back into you the way that you poured into them is not going to be beneficial to your healing process. It's not going to be beneficial for your journey. It's not going to be beneficial to your anything regarding being happy. It's not. Because you're always going to be codependent and reliant on that apology. And you're going to use it as a crutch. Well, all they have to do is apologize. All they have to do is say, all they have to do is this. No, all they have to do is be who they are, far away from you. And all you need to do is accept the fact that, yes, it happened. It is what it is at this point. And then throw some forgiveness and some gratitude on the situation and let them go. You're already not together anymore, or your friendship is already ended. Your, relationship with your children may already be strained. But at the end of the day, when you get inside of yourself that they owe you nothing, it brings a certain amount of peace within your soul, because you now are in this place of truth. You're in this place of acceptance. You're in a place where you can really truly begin to heal. because now you've really truly released them from your hold, from your bitterness, from your anger. Because all that you holding them accountable to apologize to you is all you. That's not a them thing, it's a you thing. It's a you thing, expecting them to do something for you that they didn't even do when you were in their lives and when they were in yours. So why do we expect that? Why do we feel entitled to something after the fact that they didn't even give while you were with them? I had to really set myself free from that. And I try to remind myself of that even now when things happen in life. Because listen, life happens, people come into your life and they aren't perfect and you're not perfect, and you have arguments, or you might say things and they might say things. And at the end of the day, I keep myself at peace for the most part by saying, because I say for the most part, because sometimes we feel like we have to speak our minds, right? Let's be real about that. We feel like we have to give them a 1, 2, and 3 about our thought about what they did or what they said. And sometimes all we need to do is be quiet. Okay. Hello. Can I get an amen on that? How many of you ladies out there, put a heart emoji in the comments if you're out there, you are that person that feels like you need to pop off at the mouth every time somebody says something to you, because you are a strong woman, you're independent, and you need to let everybody know how strong and independent you are, and they're not going to talk to you like that, right? But there is strength in silence. There's strength in silence. The best way for us to show our strength when it comes to people being, people hurting us, or people, stepping over our boundaries, is sometimes to be quiet. You can turn away wrath with a soft answer. And sometimes that soft answer is to just go, shh. That's the softest we can be, is silent, right? But to set yourself free on your road to happiness, on your journey and your pursuit to happiness, is to remind yourself that they owe you not one thing. They weren't capable of fulfilling your needs when you were with them, or when you were friends with them, or, anything. They weren't capable of giving you more than what they gave you. Forgive them. Thank them. You don't even have to call them up and say it to them, because sometimes you don't need to call people back, but thank them even in your prayers and on the situation. Thank you so much for the lessons that you've taught me. You've taught me that I am more valuable than what you were able to show me. You taught me that I need to love myself more. You taught me that I put you in a place you didn't even belong, which is above me, above my children, above my prayer life, above my work, above my business, above in a higher pedestal than which they put you. You made them a priority when they made you an option. And that's even in friendships, because sometimes you have friendships that you do more than they do, or you are more available for them than they are for you. And it's the same thing. Throw some gratitude on it. Say thank you to them. Write a letter, burn it if you have to, put it in your journal. Release them and yourself from that burden of, that crutch even, of apology. They owe you nothing. You owe yourself. You owe yourself that same time that you put in to chasing an apology from them. You owe yourself the same love that you are now empty of because you gave it to them. You owe yourself everything that you were looking for from that person, or from that situation, or even from that job. Look at where we are right now. COVID has, we've been quarantined. We haven't been able to live our lives as we were used to. And guess what's happening right now? We have been forced to deal with our mess. We have been forced to clean up messes that we made. We've been forced to deal with ourselves. We've been forced off of our jobs. We've been forced to deal with our finances. We've been forced to deal with our relationships that are inner circle. And some of us are thrown in a position where we are now employed, full-time self-employed. How many of you are in that position where you're now considering whether you even want to go back to work? Is it going to be beneficial? Or some people have been laid off, and you're thrown in the position to where now you have to work for yourself, or you have to figure something else out. Everything that we said we didn't have time to do before, guess what? We have more than enough time to get it done now, right? So as you're doing your soul searching during this time where you have nothing but time, take the time to take stock of your inner being, your inner thinking, your inner dialogue, and stop expecting them to apologize to you. They don't owe you that. You owe the apology to yourself. The apology is owed from you to you. Apologize to yourself for allowing yourself to go on in a relationship that wasn't beneficial to you for so long. Apologize to yourself for allowing yourself to be underloved, undervalued, underappreciated. Apologize to yourself. That's where the apology and the real forgiveness is really needed. When you do that one thing, I promise you, you will feel so much better, so validated, and just so, because we rely on other people. When they apologize, for some reason, we feel validated. Am I wrong about that, guys? Put a heart emoji in the comments if you agree with that. When you expect the apology and you finally get it, you feel better. But feel better in realizing that they don't owe it. If you never get it, allow yourself to be at peace. If they never say another word to you for the rest of your life, be at peace with the fact that they gave their best. You know you did your best. So why even be angry? Take that pain and turn it into power. Why even be angry? That is powerful all by itself. We can, it's one thing to be angry in the moment. Of course, nobody likes to be hurt. It's awful, especially when you love somebody. And when you love them and they don't love you back the same way, it sucks. I know it. I've lived it as well. But at the same time, you owe yourself so much and you deserve so much. Take all that and put it back onto yourself. Realize that they don't owe it to you. You're holding yourself hostage to your own anger, to your own bitterness, and that's not productive to be happy. Let it go. It sounds, it's not as hard as it sounds, believe it or not. And a lot of times it becomes hard because we just want to hold on to something. And as I said last week, some people don't know who they are without pain. They don't know who they are without holding on to something from the past. Every time you talk to somebody, they got to talk about what happened 15 years ago. Over it already. I don't want to hear it, but they're still stuck in it. You have that person in your life, you don't need that kind of energy. But or are you that person? Are you that person that has to talk about everything every 5 minutes that happened 20 years ago? Release it, let it go. If it's been 15 years, they haven't apologized yet, they're not going to apologize. And you know what? Once again, they don't owe you anything. You owe yourself everything. Remember that, guys. I do appreciate you guys tuning in tonight again for another episode of Heart and Soul Conversations, turning pain into power. And again, the biggest way you can turn your pain into power is to recognize the person who helped bring that pain into your life doesn't owe you anything, but you owe yourself the apology that you seek from them because you deserve it from you. I'm Corey J, aka Coach K, your happiness coach. And if you or somebody you know is really struggling with finding your happiness in life, I will put a link in the comments where you can book a power call with me, and we will talk about how your journey or what your journey needs to look like for you to find your happiness again. Thank you guys so much. Join me over on Instagram on Wednesday for A Minute with Coach K, where we continue to talk about this on another platform. I'll see you guys next week. Ciao.